Okay, so this video is taking your designs and moving into 3D, but this time in Photoshop. So I'm going to initially take this grouped object, which is now my logo, and I've copied it. So edit copy or Command C. I'm going to move into Photoshop now. I want to open up a new document. And the way that we're going to work is using an A4 document, which seems to be the right size for this particular exercise. What is important is that because I've copied something from Illustrator, it's interpreting that we want to work in CMYK. In actual fact, if I do work in CMYK, I won't be able to work in 3D because we have to work in screen mode, so we have to change it to RGB. And then we also need, for this particular exercise, to rotate the canvas 90 degrees. So I'm going to paste in my object. It doesn't really matter. You can paste it in as a smart object, or you can paste it in as pixels. I'm going to bring it right into the document as pixels. It will work with a smart object as well. So then I'm just going to adjust the size and place it roughly where I want it. Now I'm not going to talk to you about layout or anything like that. We've done that previously. You can design the can label to reflect the information that is required on the can label, and you can make sure that you put in all the requirements that you're going to need. Okay, so what I am going to do is I'm just going to fill the background with a color, and that's fine. So green does very, very nicely. And I'm going to go straight to 3D. Now, you have to be careful. If I have one layer selected and I move into 3D, then it will only change that one layer. So, for instance, there is the logo on a donut shape. Go back in time. Need to make sure that I select both layers. Now it just so happens that that size is a perfect size to create a soda can. And lo and behold, we have a perfect renditioning of a soda can. So you get very nice quality. You can maneuver it in space, and obviously you would design the template first. You've got controls up here which allow you to maneuver it in space. First of all, orbit the 3D camera. So it means I can move, even go underneath, on top, move the whole object round completely 360 degrees. We have roll the 3D camera, which allows it to roll. Okay. We've got pan the 3D camera, which allows you to move, and you can see the sides appearing as I move it. And then we've got slide the 3D camera, which allows me to maneuver it in space. So I can push it back and add in pan, and you might see the pan a bit better as I move it from one side to the other. Panning is a straightforward movement in camera. Here we also have zoom, so that's the panning action, and now zoom will allow me to zoom in or zoom out. On top of all of this, let's just go back to start. On top of all of this, I've got, if I click in the middle, I have visual controls, and it allows me again to maneuver the object. So if I just grab hold of the arrow, it allows me to pan. The little bit in the middle there, get hold of it, allows me to rotate, and then the little block just there allows me to change the size. So I can create a different size, but then of course you'll be changing the ratio of your design, so be very careful with that. So this is the rotate. If I can get hold of it again, I can rotate. If I grab, let's just grab this and turn it a little bit so we can turn it in space. Got itself stuck. Okay, so you can see those controls turning, and then I can pick up that control and turn it there, this control and turn it this way, and so on. So if that object squishes and extrudes, the middle one turns, and then we can move the position with the top arrow, and they all work in their own directions over the X, Y, and Z plane. Finally, just in this section, you've got a lighting control up here. So if I click this light, this moves around, so you might have to move your panels to find it. And it allows me to orientate the lighting on the object. And then when I'm finished, just click on it again, it will go away. And then everything moves in space with your object. What we have found is if you then want to finish your 3D, the professional way to do it is to render. So here is your render button. The render button fixes everything. I mean, at the moment, this is just being held in the memory of the computer. You can save the document, but it's not adequate for you to export to other software, and particularly 3D software. So it requires rendering in order for that to happen. However, we can take screen grabs of it. I could have put a background in. I can still add a background in if I want it against a background. Or I can simply just copy and paste it into an Illustrator document, or use this existing document. If I click away from the layer, we lose all of the 3D stuff. Okay, but if I click into the layer and just say select all, means I can take it back into Illustrator if I so wish. Paste it. Oops, I didn't do it. There you go. So there is the 3D can now back in Illustrator. So eventually we're going to create a nice design board, and we'll require a 3D element to that. So you'll need your logo, your 3D element, and your flat plan for that, which we'll talk about next week.